This story is kind of interesting, involving jails and prisons right throughout New York State.
Yeah, specifically local jails as well. So New York, this is according to the AP, New York poised to adopt new standards for the treatment of prisoners held in solitary confinement. So they're setting a new set of rules that will mandate all prisoners held in solitary at local jails get at least 4 hours of time outside of the cell each day. And the rules will also require local authorities to tell the state whenever a prisoner under 18 is placed in solitary or when an inmate is held in solitary for more than a month.
All right, Sheriff Rob Maciol on the line right now. What is the policy? What's your policy currently? Good morning.
Well, good morning. First off, we don't use the term solitary confinement. We don't have people think that's like a hole somewhere in the jail where you know, there's no light of day coming through and people don't get they get their meals split under the door. I mean, that's obviously not the situation in our facility. The term we use is called DSU, a disciplinary segregation unit. And again, minimum standards currently, prior to this issue that came up yesterday, for adult prisoners, we give them 1 hour of time outside their cell. Even though our minimum standards give them 1 hour rec time, in our situation, they get substantially more because that 1 hour does not include, visits to the medical unit, when they're out of the cell making phone calls, if they're purchasing things on a kiosk for commissary, classroom, if they happen to be an inmate that's in a class for whether it's high school equivalency or any type of other training. And their visits, too. So typically, even though our minimum standards say 1 hour, they do get a lot more. We have not yet received the specifics on this issue or on the change that the governor signed yesterday. The New York State Commission of Corrections, which oversees all the jails, we did receive, we actually, they're in our facility this week doing inspections on some things. And they advised us that in the very near future, we're going to get the specifics on what we have to currently change. So, I mean, if in fact we have to give them 4 hours, that's probably going to be a little bit of a manpower issue or a staffing issue because obviously they require extra levels of supervision if they're going to be out that long. And they're in these units for a reason, and it's certainly not a majority of the population. It's a very small minority of the population, a very small number. These are the individuals who refuse to follow the rules of the facility, and they have to be put in a special unit.
Well, what's your, not that I guess in this case it matters, but what's your opinion on this? Is this are we becoming too lenient for, are we kind of tying your hands at being able to punish a prisoner that has done something bad?
It is a challenge because, again, the inmates that are in the DSU unit for us, I mean, they're there because they don't follow the rules. They're there because they're fighting with other inmates. They're there for specific reasons. We just can't make up reasons. I mean, everything is obviously documented. Reports are filed. So, again, they're there for a reason. So now they're telling us instead of giving them that 1 hour of time, they're going to need 4 hours of time, which, like I said, you're probably going to need a one-on-one supervision, one correction officer for each of those inmates. So again, it's going to cause us overtime. But at the end of the day, if it's the law, and we will follow it. We
might even be able to call this yet another unfunded mandate from Albany.
Sure, absolutely, because no one's looking at that. I mean, obviously, no one wants to lock an inmate in for 23 hours a day. Obviously, we don't because that's a staffing issue for us as it is because we're constantly checking on them. But at the same time, if they're going to be outside, and again, we have to, in many cases, keep them apart. I mean, for the 16 and 17-year-old inmates that we have, they do get more time outside a DSU unit. But the problem is, typically, when they're out of that unit and they're with other 16 and 17-year-olds. That's where we have conflicts. That's where we have fights. I mean, we have gang members from different gangs, and they end up getting into one assaulting the other. So again, then we have the chance of officers getting injured. So every time we bring them out for longer periods of time, it's not only a staffing concern and overtime concern, but there's a risk of people getting injured too.
Is this only under 18 that this affects?
No, I believe it's
everybody. It's everyone.
What I read in the media, I believe it's for everybody.
So let me ask you this: if let's say I'm a well-behaved prisoner and I'm not in DSU, how much rec time do I get a day?
Actually, quite a bit. In the newer part of our jail, you're going to be out nearly most of the time because the only time we lock in is obviously at shift change, prior and just after. and anytime there's a lockdown in the unit or in the facility due to a fight somewhere else.
Sure.
And then, of course, during midnights, everyone's locked in. So typically, you don't follow the rules, and you're going to spend almost the entire day shift and almost the whole afternoon shift out of your cell if you choose to.
Right.
Okay.
You come in and out into the common area. But, again, that's where we want everyone to be. But this is specifically for the ones who fail to follow the rules, who get in fights, assault officers, throw urine on officers, throw feces on officers. I mean, I could go on and on and on as to what they do, and they end up, in these DSU units.
Andrew, last
So Governor Cuomo is saying that these standards will create consistent rules and, most importantly, prevent prisoner mistreatment. Are you aware of an increase in prisoner mistreatment, or have there been lawsuits that have been filed that have prompted this law?
That I don't know. I mean, I'm only going to speak for our facility. I mean, we run a substantially large county facility, but again, we're nothing like the size of Rikers or anything like that.
Right, right.
But I'm sure maybe some of these larger jails have bigger issues.
Well, and wasn't there was a story where a kid who might have been 16 had died in one of these jails, and it might have been in New York City, and he was in solitary confinement. And I remember a story maybe about 5 or 6 months ago. So this action might be in reaction to that, but again, it's reaction to one case. Right. And not looking at, here are these facilities that are run properly. And
exactly. And again, when someone's in a special unit, they're checked on more often than the folks. Again, obviously, it's easier for us to keep an eye on the people in a general population unit who are following the rules because they're out mingling and they're in plain view of the officers all the time. It's just frustrating for us because, yet again, like I said, we struggle as it is keeping staffing up and keeping overtime under control because of all the rules. Well, lo and behold, here comes another rule. It's at the end of the day. I mean, whether it's the right thing or not, I mean, that's not up to me to decide. But at the same time, it's a rule change, a law change. We're going to have to follow it, and it's going to cost us substantial money.
All right, Sheriff Rob Maciol, appreciate it.
Thank you. Anytime.
We'll see what comes of this. Yet another New York State unfunded mandate from the governor. Thanks so much.
How long do you think before we have mandatory daily foot massages for all of our inmates across New York State?
God, I wonder.